are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Monday. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you, the viewer. Again, the following link, streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment below. So, we got a lot to talk about on the show today. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, a great holiday weekend. Definitely much deserved. It was a lot of fun this weekend. Obviously got to spend some time with family, watch the games, of course, enjoy some food. So that was great. Also had my turkey bowl with my friends on Saturday, and I am still dealing with that, very sore from that. The most running that I've done in a long time. But it was a good day. It was a lot of fun, and it's nice to get everybody together. Because now with everybody working, it's tough to get everybody together. But we were able to do that. I mean, we were there from like 9:30 Eastern time to the afternoon basically. It was a fun day though. It was a fun day. Just still dealing with the after effects of doing that, because I couldn't even get up yesterday. It just was I was just so sore. Everything hurts, and got a couple of scrapes too. But it was a lot of fun. It was worth it. It was definitely worth it. But yeah, I hope everybody had a great weekend. But we're back, and got a lot to talk about today. So we're gonna start off the show by talking about the Eagles-Bills game from yesterday. That was the game of the day, game of the weekend. What a great game between these two teams. I did have a friend that went to that game. Unfortunately, he was a Bills fan, so he was on the losing end of that. But a great game nonetheless. Then we'll get into the Thanksgiving games, and then in the third part of the show, we'll go through the the rest of the weekend games. We'll talk about the Black Friday game, of course, between the Jets and the Dolphins, and how that went, and then we'll preview tonight's game between the Bears and the Vikings. So that's the rundown for the show today. So let's get right into talking about yesterday's game, not last night, between the Bills and the Eagles. So obviously the Bills, they had a dominating performance against the Jets the week before. They fired their offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, and even in this loss, though, the Bills' offense still, Josh Allen played really well in this game. Although I didn't realize, I mean, he went 29 of 51. That's, he threw the ball a lot. But what I will say is he was their leading rusher. And he ended up having 81 yards rushing on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. He had 2 touchdowns throwing, and he also had a pick in this game. It was actually very costly. But, the Bills the last couple weeks, their offense has looked good. It's definitely been better. Obviously, the turnovers with Josh Allen are still a problem. But I mean, you gotta like what you see, at least, from the offense. But it was a tough loss for them. And listen, it looked like that the Bills were gonna win this game. They were up by 10 against the Eagles at one point, and it just looked like, the Eagles were going to suffer their second loss. I mean, they were down 10 points, 10 points twice, excuse me, in this game. And, the Eagles came back, and, the game went to overtime, and the Eagles won it. So we'll kind of go through the drive summaries. So first three possessions, the Bills had 2, the Eagles had 1. They all punted. Then the Eagles went 10 plays, 73 yards, 5.5 minutes of time of possession down the field. And that was a Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown. So that put the Eagles up 7-0. Bills answered with a field goal. 11 plays, 45 yards, almost 5 minutes of time of possession. The Eagles opened up the second quarter. 2 plays, only 13 seconds. Jalen Hurts threw a pick. It got tipped up in the air and got picked off, and that led to a Bills touchdown. That was Josh Allen's first rushing touchdown of the game. So that put the Bills up 10-7. Next 3 possessions, again, Eagles had 2, the Bills had 1. They all punted. Bills then missed a field goal. Then the Eagles fumbled. So, and that was caused by Jalen Hurts fumbling the ball there. I mean, still an issue with the Eagles. They're turning the ball over. Now, they're still winning games, so that's good. But, I mean, that's something they still got to clean up, because that could be an issue, down the line, and that could cost them, especially if that happens in the playoffs, But, yeah, so that led to another Bills touchdown. Josh Allen connected with Stephon Diggs for 13 yards. And that was in a tight window, and Allen fit it right in there. And, Diggs was able to score, cross the goal line. I mean, he was sitting down basically when he caught it. Well, I don't think he was sitting down, but he was right there when he caught it. 17-7 the score was. And that's what it was at the end of the first half. Eagles opened up the second half punting. Bills missed another field goal. I mean, the weather conditions were really bad. I mean, it was a monsoon out there. But, I mean, this game still ended up being 37-34. So, I mean, it didn't really impact the scoring here. So then the Eagles answered with a touchdown to make it 17-14. Hurts connected with A.J. Brown for a 3-yard touchdown. Yeah, I mean, A.J. Brown was pretty quiet in the first half, and same thing with Jalen Hurts, but then they really turned it on in the second half. Then the Bills answered with a touchdown of their own. Josh Allen, again, a 16-yard rushing touchdown. Listen, they got to run the ball with him more. Now, I'm not saying like how they done, these last couple of playoff runs. Like, you want to limit it a little bit, but you still got to make Allen take off with it, because that's part of his game, and that makes him so dynamic. And that was a big factor in this game. That put them up by 10 again. Then the Eagles again answered with another touchdown, 7 plays, 75 yards. They went Hurts connected with Devontae Smith, who had a great game. So that made it 24-21. Then in the fourth quarter, Josh Allen throws a pick, and that was at their 29. And I mean, that was a killer. And then the Eagles, 3 plays, 24 yards. Hurts connected with Olamide Zaccheaus for a 29-yard touchdown. Hurts scrambled out, and he, towards the sideline, he threw it up, and Zaccheaus made a great catch to put them up by 4. Then both teams punted, and then the Bills went 10 plays, 74 yards, over 5 minutes of time of possession. And Josh Allen connected with Gabe Davis to put them up 31-28. Then the Eagles got into field goal range. Well, at least Jake Elliott's field goal range. That's what I meant to say. And he kicked a 59-yard field goal to send this game to overtime. Josh Allen did get the ball first in overtime. They kicked a field goal. And on the 3rd down and 6 play, it looked like he had Gabe Davis wide open. well, not wide open, but he was open, and there was miscommunication there, and it was incomplete. It would have been the game-winning touchdown, but they had to settle for a field goal, and then the Eagles went down the field, 9 plays, 75 yards, 3:15 of time of possession, and Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown from 12 yards out. And the Eagles got the win, 37-34. It was definitely the game of the weekend. It was an unbelievable game. I went over Josh Allen's stats, his rushing stats. The Bills ran the ball as a team for 173 yards. James Cook had 43. Latavius Murray had 30. Ty Johnson had 19. Gabe Davis had 105 yards receiving and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs had 74 yards receiving and a touchdown. James Cook had 57. Shakir had 47. Dolan Kincaid had 38. And on the Eagles side, Jalen Hurts went 18 of 31, 200 yards passing, 3 touchdowns and a pick. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. DeAndre Swift had 80 yards rushing. Hurts had 65 yards rushing. Devontae Smith had 106 yards receiving and a touchdown. A.J. Brown had 5 for 37. Olamide Zaccheaus' only reception was that 29-yard touchdown. But yeah, Eagles 37-34. They improved to 10-1. Bills dropped to 6-6, which is a big loss for them because, they're still trying to get themselves back in the playoff race, and they can't lose this game here. And unfortunately, that was the case. But a great game, but a controversial play in the game actually was when the Eagles tied the game at 34. A.J. Brown, it looked like he fumbled on that possession, and that would have ended the game. But they ruled the pass was incomplete, and he didn't make a football move. So they upheld it, but that could have ended the game. And people are complaining about the refs online. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough loss there. I mean, the Josh Allen pick was a killer. But I thought he did play. I thought he played well. So you at least got to like that the offense is moving in the right direction. I mean, they definitely have looked better the last couple of weeks. So, and actually, let's look at their schedule quickly here. So after this week, they have their bye. Then they take on Kansas City in Kansas City. That's going to be a tough game, but I think they can win it. They are home against the Cowboys, which is going to be tough. Then at the Chargers, which will be a tough game as well because the Chargers can put up points, although they didn't yesterday, and we'll get into that. Home against the Patriots, and then at the Dolphins. And right now, they are 1.5 games back of the third wild card. But I still think they have a shot. So, there's still some time, but they basically have to win out, which is going to be tough. But I think they can definitely make a run if the offense plays like it has over the last couple weeks. But again, the Josh Allen turnover, I mean, that was a costly mistake there. So we'll just have to we'll have to see what happens. But the Eagles, they continue to roll, and they play the 49ers next week at home, which is a rematch of the NFC Championship game from last year. And I cannot wait for that game. Hopefully, no big injuries from that game. Brock Purdy plays the whole game, and we see, how these teams really do stack up against each other. Because the 49ers, they've looked a lot better in recent weeks, so they're coming in hot. So I'm really looking forward to the game. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's pretty much it with this segment. We'll take our first break, and then when we come back, we will discuss the Thanksgiving games. We'll recap them. I'll give you my thoughts on those, and that is what we will do when we return from our first break of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to talk about the Thanksgiving games. I'll recap those. And first off, I'll start by saying went 1-2 in the spreads. I was very disappointed with my performance on Thanksgiving when it came to my picks. Because I said it on Wednesday. I'm pretty sure I take a lot of pride in these picks, and I really just had no idea what to do. The one that I had the most confidence in was the 49ers Seahawks game, and that's the game that I won. The other two I wasn't sure, and I overthought it. Especially the Commanders Cowboys game, because if the game ended after 3 quarters, the Commanders would have covered. But unfortunately, that's not the case. You got to play a fourth quarter, and the Commanders just got blown out in the fourth quarter, and I was very disappointed. And I could have changed it, especially after how the first game went, because I had all the favorites, but I said I don't think all the favorites are covering. But I chose the wrong favorite. I should have said, you know what, take the 7.5 with Green Bay because they've been playing a lot better. Because, Jordan Love connects with Christian Watson on that long pass to start the game. I was like, oh boy, we are in trouble. And let's get into that game. So the Packers have been playing better as of late. 4-6 coming into the game. Lions, they played really bad against the Bears, but they still pulled out a win. So I thought, you know what, Thanksgiving, they played bad on Sunday. Packers had a ton of injuries coming into the game. There was no Aaron Jones, no Luke Musgrave. So I was like, you know what? And I don't think Jair Alexander played in the game either. So I thought, you know what? Lions should win this game and cover. And that was not the case. The Packers outscored the Lions 20-6 in the first quarter. Now, they did only score 6 points in the second half. But, the Lions kind of, hurt themselves with the turnovers. And that's kind of what led to it being 20-6 after the first quarter. So we'll go through it. The Packers on the first drive of the game, 5 plays, 75 yards, 244 in terms of time of possession. They go right down the field. Yeah, Jordan Love on the first play connects with Christian Watson for 53 yards. I'm like, yeah, that's not good. Then tight window throw, zips it into Jaden Reed for a touchdown. I mean, you watch the play, you're like, how did that get through? Because there was a lot of traffic when he threw it. That put the Packers up 7-0. Lions then answered with a touchdown drive of their own, but they missed the extra point. They went 7 plays, 73 yards, 346 time of possession. Goff connected with Sam Laporta for a 7-yard touchdown, so that made 7-6. Then Packers on their next drive went 10 plays, 75 yards, 522 time of possession. Jordan Love connected with Tucker Kraft for a 9-yard touchdown, so that put them up 14-6. And then Jared Goff fumbled, which led to a touchdown by Owens. They reviewed it, and the play was upheld, so the Packers got a touchdown out of that. So that put them up 20-6. They missed the extra point. Then the Lions fumbled again. Goff fumbled again. But the Packers turned it over on downs. But yeah, it was an ugly first quarter. Then the Packers kicked a field goal in the second quarter. Everybody punted in the quarter. Lions had turnover on downs actually on one of their drives. Packers missed a field goal. So then we go to the third quarter. Lions on their first drive go 7 plays, 72 yards, 3 minutes and 14 seconds time of possession. That was a David Montgomery touchdown, and then he got the 2-point conversion. So it's 23-14, so that was big. The Lions getting themselves back in the game. Then the Packers punted. Lions turned it over on downs. Then the Packers scored another touchdown. Jordan Love connected with Christian Watson. Lions fumbled again. Goff another fumble. Packers didn't capitalize on it. The Lions did score again to make it 29-22. Goff connected with Josh Reynolds for a 12-yard touchdown, but it was too little too late. Lions lose. Packers improved to 5-6, and they're kind of starting to get themselves back in the conversation of maybe they could be the team that gets the final wild card spot in the NFC. Lions dropped to 8-3. So, and the defense really has just been an issue these last couple of weeks. And now they go and play the Saints, who I can't figure out the Saints. They just, I mean, you look at them on paper, you're like, this team should be good, but I mean, they continue to disappoint. So now we go to the Cowboys and the Commanders. I mean, listen, I thought the Commanders, they could maybe keep it, within 10, lose like, 31-21 or something. But that was not the case. I mean, the game was 14-10 at one point, but then the Commanders just let the Cowboys go right down the field and get a touchdown. Tony Pollard scoring a touchdown to make it 20-10 at the half. Yeah, so Dak Prescott connected with Dowdle for a 15-yard touchdown to make it 7-0. Commanders got a field goal. Cowboys another touchdown. Dak connected with Brandon Cooks. Sam Howell had a rushing touchdown, 1-yard touchdown at the goal line, make it 14-10. And then the Commanders just let the Cowboys go right down the field. Tony Pollard scored a touchdown, so they made it 20-10. Then it was 23-10. Then it was 29-10. Then it was 38-10. Then it was 45. I mean, it just, oh man. What a disaster that fourth quarter was. Like I said, Cowboys outscored the Commanders 25-10 or 25-0 in the second half, really. Sam Howell went 28-44, 300 yards passing, no touchdowns and a pick. Brian Robinson 53 yards rushing. Curtis Samuel, their leading receiver, had 100 yards receiving. But yeah, the Commanders just were awful. The defense was bad. And that was the other, but I just was so conflicted because Commanders' last 6 games, they're 5-1 against the spread. They play the Cowboys tough at times. But the Cowboys have been killing people at home. And I should have went with that and said I didn't. And I paid for it. I did. Dak Prescott, really good game. 22-32, 331 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Tony Pollard, 13 carries, 79 yards and a touchdown. Brandon Cooks was their leading receiver, 72 yards receiving and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, 53 yards receiving and a touchdown. But yeah, I mean, they were killing them on a lot of deep balls. Early on in the game, I was listening to it, watching it, and Tony Romo even said, like, they see something, downfield. Washington is just not, playing the right defense, and, that was obvious because there was a couple of plays that, Dak missed early in the game, but then he connected on them later in the game. And that's why it ended up being 45-10. So, yeah, not a good pick by me. Overthought it. Should have just said, you know what, just take Dallas. But you know what, it's because Dallas didn't cover on Thanksgiving last year. So I was like, you know what, I'm not, I don't know. That was bad. That was on me. But, yeah, Dak had a really good game. Cowboys improved to 8-3. Top 3 team in the NFC. Yeah. I was saying the Lions, but the way the Lions defense has been playing and, them turning the ball over, Jared Goff turning the ball over, and the way Dak Prescott's been playing, again, the Commanders are a bad team. But you know what? The Cowboys, I think they're still below the 49ers and the Eagles, but I put them as the number 3 team in the NFC. So then you got the Niners and the Seahawks. So the game I at least got right. Niners all over the Seahawks, 31-13. Brock Purdy, 21-30, 209 yards passing, a touchdown and a pick. Christian McCaffrey, 19 carries, 114 yards and 2 touchdowns. No surprise there. Deebo Samuel had a rushing touchdown in this game, was the leading receiver, 79 yards receiving. Brandon Ayuk had 50 for a touchdown. George Kittle had a quiet day. 3 receptions for 19 yards. And then on the Seahawks side, Geno Smith, 180 yards passing, no touchdowns and a pick. There was no Kenneth Walker, so Zach Charbonnet was the leading rusher with 47 yards rushing. Jackson Smith and Jigba was the leading receiver, 2 receptions for 41 yards. had a great one-handed catch in this game. They were comparing it to the Odell Beckham Jr. Catch, which actually just turned 9 years old this past week, which is unbelievable that was that long ago already. That just shows how old we're all getting. Yeah, the Seahawks, listen, they're going to make the playoffs probably, but they definitely are going to have to upgrade at quarterback because they have a really good roster. But Geno Smith, listen, it was a great story last year, and he's been okay this year. 12 touchdowns to 8 interceptions is not great. But yeah, the Seahawks are going to have to upgrade at quarterback because they're not really going to go far with him, unfortunately. But they have a great roster, so they just need to figure it out at quarterback. But as for the Niners, they continue to roll, and now it sets up the NFC Championship rematch between them and the Eagles. So we'll see what happens. But yeah. Also, I actually do want to go back to the first game because I didn't really go through the stats. So Jordan Love went 22 of 32, 268 yards passing. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. A.J. Dillon was their leading rusher for 43 yards. Jordan Love had a 37-yard run in this game. He had 39 yards in total. Christian Watson was their leading receiver, 94 yards, receiving and a touchdown. And then for the Lions, Jared Goff, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, but he did have the fumbles. 332 yards passing. David Montgomery, 71 yards rushing and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, 54 yards rushing. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, of course, was their leading receiver, 95 yards receiving. But I will say, Packers are playing a lot better. Jordan Love definitely has looked good the last couple of weeks, so that's really encouraging to see moving forward. Now they got a tough game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes' first game in Lambeau. And I'll be honest, I was really hoping that Aaron Rodgers would be the quarterback. I wish Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback in this game, just for this game. But unfortunately, that's not the case. We got Jordan Love and we got Patrick Mahomes for that. But you know what? Jordan Love is playing better. Still, Lambeau Field. It's gonna. Especially how the Packers have been playing, the crowd's gonna be electric, especially with the Chiefs coming in. So that's a game I'm looking forward to. But yeah, the Packers they're kind of rolling right now. I know they've played 2 bad defenses, but you know what? Jordan Love wasn't playing good early, for a few weeks, and you'll take anything, and he really has turned it on lately. And Christian Watson, a good game for him. So it's encouraging moving forward for the Packers, and we'll see, if they can make a run here. But yeah, they won. Cowboys dominated against another bad team, and the 49ers continue to roll. So those are all your Thanksgiving games. So before I go to break, just want to remind you guys to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewer. Excuse me. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And again, as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we will look at the rest of the games from Week 12. We'll talk about some college games as well. The dramatic finish between Auburn and Alabama. So we'll talk about that for a little bit. But yeah, we'll get into that when we come back from our second break. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are going to now recap the rest of the games from the weekend. We'll start off with the Black Friday game. We'll also talk about some college games as well. So let's get into the Jets and the Dolphins. So I was kind of hoping that the Jets would put up a better fight in this game. Because I did pick them with the 9.5 points, and it was bad. It was really bad, and especially because it was around Thanksgiving, which everybody always talks about the butt fumble that happened on Thanksgiving. Now this happened the day after Thanksgiving, but the Jets down 10-0. Tua throws a pick, a pick six. And that makes it 10-6. Now, of course, the Jets missed the extra point. But you know what? The Jets, hey, they're back in the game. They were, it seemed like it was going to be, it still ended up being a blowout. But, at least like after the pick six, you're like, okay, maybe this will give the Jets momentum. And that was not the case, because what ends up happening is Tim Boyle, who started this game, throws a Hail Mary, to end the half. Well, and right before that, Tua threw another pick. So they had 2 picks on Tua, and that gets intercepted, and Javon Holland takes it all the way back for a 99-yard pick six to end the half, to make it 17-6 at the half, instead of 10-6. And you just sit there and you laugh, because how does this keep happening to the Jets? And then from that point on, it was just forget it. They got no shot. Then, Jason Sanders kicks a 54-yard field goal, make it 20-6. Raheem Mostert makes it 27-6. The Jets did score an offensive touchdown in the game to make it 27-13. Tim Boyle connected with Garrett Wilson. But then, they just didn't tackle Mostert. Again, another touchdown for 34 yards, make it 34-13. And that was the final score. Jets dropped to 4-7. Dolphins improved to 8-3. And Tua didn't even play great. 21-30, 243 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. I think he also had a fumble in this game too. He had a fumble in this game. Jets had 3 turnovers and they still get blown out by 21 points. Tim Boyle was bad, 27-38, 179 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Look, Zach Wilson is not good either, but it just goes to show you that there are a lot more problems with the Jets besides the quarterback. Honestly, I probably would have started Trevor Siemian instead of Tim Boyle. But that's just me. Trevor Siemian isn't, as much, that much better, but I probably would have gave him a chance over Tim Boyle, but I don't know. So the Jets season continues to spiral out of control. So the rest of the games here, the Steelers, they won an ugly game, 16-10 over the Bengals against Jake Browning. They did good. They did better offensively. Kenny Pickett, 278 yards, passing, no touchdowns, no picks. Najee Harris, 99 yards rushing and a touchdown. Jalen Warren had 49 yards. He also had a fumble in the game. Pat Freiermuth made his return to the field. 9 receptions, 120 yards. That was his best game as a pro. So that's huge getting him back. George Pickens had 3 for 58. Deontay Johnson had 4 for 50. Jake Browning on the other side for the Bengals. They really didn't run the ball. 25 yards rushing. Browning, 227 yards, passing, 1 touchdown and a pick. Jamar Chase had 81 yards receiving. It was an ugly game. Steelers get the win, though. They improved to 7-4. Bengals dropped to 5-6. It's unfortunate that Burrow's injury had to happen at a crucial point in the season. But they're not going to go anywhere, unfortunately. Giants winning 10-7 over the Patriots. I'm just going to run through these games quickly because we're not going to be able to talk about. I'll talk about them, some of them, more specifically, throughout the week, like I've done in the past. But there's just so many games to get to. Giants winning 10-7 over the Patriots. The Patriots actually got into field goal range at the end of the game, and then they missed it. So now they are 2-9 on the season. And Mac Jones again got benched. Bailey Zappi came in. And the Patriots are just right now. I mean, listen, the Bears have the number 1 overall pick. Patriots right now are in the 2 spot. We'll talk about the updated draft order, during the week. But Patriots, I mean, they might get that top pick. It's possible, which should scare the rest of the NFL, especially if they keep Belichick around. So that'll be a wait and see. All right, so again, continue to pick the Saints. The Falcons win 24-15. Jesse Bates has that 90-yard pick six. Taysom Hill fumbled when they were driving. Chris Olave gets a concussion in this game. The Saints are just a mess. They're 5-6. Falcons are 5-6. They still got a chance at the division, of course, but you would think this team would be better, and they're not. The turnovers are very costly in this game. I mean, it's not like Desmond Ridder didn't have turnovers in this game. He did. He threw 2 picks, but the Saints just couldn't get anything going here. 24-15. Jags 24-21 over the Texans. What a game that was. Kaimi Fairbairn, he lined up to kick a game-tying field goal, and that was, I think, a 59-yard. Oh wait, no, it wasn't Fairbairn. It was Matt Amendola. Sorry, 58-yard field goal, and it hit off the crossbar and bounced back in. And the Texans were that close to sending the game to overtime. Jags get the win, though. They are now 2 games up in first place. But what a game that was. Colts are actually the 7th seed in the AFC, winning. They won 27-20 over the Bucs. Baker Mayfield actually got hurt in this game, but he came back in, threw 2 touchdowns to Mike Evans, but turned the ball over a couple of times, had a pick, and also fumbled in the game as well. Bucs dropped to 4-7. Colts are 6-5. Give this team a lot of credit. This team is going to be good next year. They're in a playoff spot right now. I don't know if they're going to hold on to that, but this team, with Anthony Richardson coming back, Jonathan Taylor, this team can definitely be good next year. So, but right now they're playing well. They're 6-5. They got the 7th seed. This game was not very good. The Titans and the Panthers. Titans winning 17-10. Not really much to say about this game, other than Frank Reich getting fired by the Panthers. The Panthers have been very disappointing. Bryce Young has been very disappointing. But Titans get a win at home. They improved to 4-7. Panthers dropped to 1-10. Bears right now got the number 1 overall pick. So then we got the Rams and the Cardinals. Rams all over the Cardinals, 37-14. And you would think, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, they had good games, right? Not really. Tutu Atwell was their leading receiver. Puka Nacua only had 4 receptions for 27 yards, and Cooper Kupp only had 3 for 18. Karen Williams was the star in this game. He came back from IR, 16 carries, 143 yards rushing. 61 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Higbee had 2 touchdowns. Matthew Stafford, 25 of 33, 229 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Kyler Murray went 27 of 45, 256 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Cardinals, the Rams own the Cardinals. They just do. So they get the win there. They improved to 5-6. Then we go to the Broncos and the Browns. Broncos winning 29-12. Over the Browns. DTR got hurt in this game. P.J. Walker finished it. DTR's mouth was all bloody. That was not something you want to see because he got hit really hard and that knocked him out of the game. And you don't want to see that. The Browns, they it was 14-12 at one point, but the Broncos outscored the Browns 15-6 in the second half, and they continue to roll. Russell Wilson's not letting up the stat sheet, but they're running the football well and they're playing good defense. So they're 6-5. What a turnaround, really. And we'll talk about them more during the week. Because now they're in the playoff conversation. They really are. And then they got a tough game against the Texans next week. Then you got the Chiefs winning 31-17 over the Raiders. It was 14-0 Raiders at one point, but then the Chiefs dominated the rest of the way. So that was encouraging to see. Patrick Mahomes had a good game. Rashee Rice had a good game. Isaiah Pacheco had a good game. They get to 8-3. So that's at least good for at least this week. I know it was against the Raiders, but give them credit. They got the win. They got themselves back on the right track. And then you got the Ravens and the Chargers. Ravens winning 20-10, improving to 9-3 over the Chargers. It was 13-10, and I thought, all right, Chargers are going to cover. And then the Ravens pick up a first down, and Zay Flowers doesn't go to the ground. He just goes straight to the end zone. And the Ravens cover the spread, winning 20-10. And that was literally right as I got home last night, because I was out. And I just could not believe that happened. Because you see so many times, like Mahomes, earlier in the year against the Jets, falls down at the goal line. Zay Flowers just is like, nah, I'm going to go score. And it's whatever. I've seen it all. And yeah, so the Chargers are 4-7. Brandon Staley needs to be gone after this year. But I mean, the Ravens defense played really well. I mean, they held that Chargers high-powered offense to 10 points, which is not easy to do. They forced turnovers in this game. Herbert had a fumble, Eckler had a fumble, Keenan Allen had a fumble. But Ravens right now, they're the 1 seed. So give them credit. They're a good team. So let's talk about the Alabama-Auburn game really quickly here. So Alabama was losing in this game late, and actually let's go to the final drive because that's really where it happened. So there was a fumble, then a penalty that set them all the way back. Then on an illegal forward pass. Then on 4th and 31, they get a 31-yard touchdown. Milroe connects with Bond for the touchdown, and they win 27-24. Now, we'll see what happens with the how the college football playoff shapes out, but I mean that, and I saw something that said that was revenge for the the Chris Davis return. All those years ago, when Alabama was kicking the field goal to win the game, and Chris Davis ran it all the way back for a touchdown, and Auburn won that game. But yeah, that was unbelievable, an unbelievable ending. Jalen Milroe, what a throw on 4th and 31. That's impossible to do, but almost impossible. But they did it. They got the win. And then also, Michigan and Ohio State. Michigan getting the win. I said Ohio State. And, of course, again, pick the opposite with me sometimes. And that was an instance there. So Michigan improves to 12-0. Ohio State drops to 11-1. But, yeah, a crazy weekend in both college and in the NFL. But yeah, I just wanted to throw those in there towards the end. So with that, we are going to take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, we'll preview tonight's Monday night matchup between the Bears and the Vikings. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are now going to preview tonight's game between the Bears and the Vikings. This is obviously the last game of Week 12. Can't believe I'm saying that, but I mean, I'm going to say that every week. I can't believe it's Week 13, 14. I mean, we're now after this week, we only got 6 more weeks left in the regular season. Vikings right now, they hold a wild card spot in the NFC. They actually have the second. They have the second wild card spot. They're ahead of Seattle right now. So Seattle. They got a tough game against the Cowboys on Thursday. They got to be careful because they could find themselves falling out of it. They keep losing games here, but so the Vikings, they had that tough loss to the Broncos last week, a game that I think they should have won, but it is what it is. Right now, they're 3-point favorites against the Bears. The Bears coming off of that good performance against the Lions, but unfortunately they fell short. 31-26 was the final in that game. I mean, for me, I think the Vikings should win this game. I just feel like they're the better team here. I mean, they already won. In the first meeting, of course, Justin Fields got hurt. There's no Kirk Cousins in the game, but now you got to deal with Josh Dobbs. But you got to be encouraged with how Justin Fields played last week, and he was running the football. He was using his legs, so there's really no limitations with him going into this game. And, he's one of those quarterbacks that he has a lot to prove, in this final, portion of the season. Because right now the Bears have the number 1 overall pick, and they could say, you know what, we're going to draft Caleb Williams, we're going to draft Drake May, one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. Unless they want to say, hey, we'll trade down and, get a lot of assets and continue to build around Justin Fields. Like, there's many things they could do here. Many things they can do with the number 1 pick if they get it. They could even, trade Justin Fields and get picks, that way too. Because maybe there's a team that, could take him and, do a lot more with him than the Bears can. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. I have no idea. But to compare the two teams, so on offense, I mean, the Bears are 26th in passing yards per game. The Vikings are 3rd, but, again, that has a lot to do with Kirk Cousins. Rushing yards per game, though. The Vikings are not a good running team. We know this, but now with Josh Dobbs, it's going to improve. It has improved because, he could take off with it. The Bears are 3rd. The Vikings are 13th in points per game. The Bears are 18th. And then on defense, the Vikings are 21st against the pass. I said the past. And the Bears are 25th. The Bears are actually number 1 against the run, and the Vikings are a bad running team. So Vikings are going to throw it, but hey, you got Josh Dobbs, so we'll see how that goes. And then the Vikings are 7th against the run, so you got 2 top 10 teams against the run. And then in terms of points allowed, the Bears are 29th, and the Vikings are 13th. No Justin Jefferson in this game once again. So, of course, you have Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, who are going to continue to, see the bulk of the targets. Let's actually look at the injury report for the game here. If I can find it. So for the Bears, Deontay Foreman is out. So that's, that's kind of big because he's been playing good for them. You also got Larry Borum, one of their guards. He's out. You also have linebacker Noah Sewell. He's out as well. Sewell. Stevenson, their corner, Tyreek Stevenson, he is also out as well. And then for the Vikings, Justin Jefferson obviously isn't going to play. There's really nobody like. You still got Jordan Hicks who's out. Davenport. He's still on injured reserve. Oh wait, actually it says expect to return week 12, so we'll see if he's back tonight. But yeah. So I think for me, I think the Vikings win. I was going back and forth on like in terms of the spread because right now they're a 3-point favorite. I did originally have the Bears just because of how well they played last week, but I think I'm just going to take the Vikings. Because I just think they're the better team. It could definitely be a close game, but I like what Josh Dobbs is doing. The Broncos defense has been playing a lot better. So that was a tough matchup for them last week, in Denver especially. Now they're at home. I think they should, they should be fine. They should play a lot better. But, we'll see. I was kind of hoping that, after my rough start, on Thanksgiving that, I would rebound and win pretty much every game yesterday. But that wasn't the case. And hopefully, I could at least win this week and get 9 instead of 8. So all I've been doing lately is just getting 8, 8, 8 every single time, every single week these last few weeks. I can't exceed it. And this was a week where not all the teams had bye weeks. So, I think obviously the Vikings are going to, not run the football effectively tonight. I don't think that's going to happen. But, I think they'll be throwing it. I think TJ Hawkinson will have a good game. He's been playing really well as of late. That was a good trade that the Vikings made getting him. I don't know. I don't know. Sam Laporta has been good for the Lions, but I don't know. Especially in your division too. Like, wouldn't it make more sense if maybe the Vikings just gave him the best deal they were looking for? So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. The Bears, they're not going anywhere this year. They're going to end up with 2 top picks, with the Panthers being 1-10 and, them being 3-8. But it's going to be interesting. That's going to be one of the situations that's going to be really interesting to keep an eye on just because, what's going to happen with Justin Fields after this year. Because, if you still roll with him and you just, you maybe trade down with the number 1 pick and get a lot of assets and you just continue to build around him, that could work. Or, you could take, you could even take, Marvin Harrison Jr. as, another wide receiver, give him another weapon to go along with DJ Moore and Mooney and Cole Kmet. But, the Bears still got some work to do. I think maybe get an offensive-minded head coach. That probably would be the right thing to do. Eberflus is probably gone after this year, I would imagine. There's going to be a lot of head coaches. There's going to be a lot of head coaching changes after this year because, look at what's going on with the Chargers. The Patriots, Belichick might leave. Ron Rivera. There are definitely going to be a lot of head coaching changes. We thought Denver there was going to be some changes, but not right now. Not right now because the team has been playing a lot better. Credit to Sean Payton. And again, we'll get into them during the week, but we'll just have to see how everything plays out, of course. Like I said, 6 weeks left in the regular season. Obviously, we got the college football playoff coming up, within the coming months. The college football season's almost over, too. Yeah, so, we're moving right along. We're getting more towards the end. We're closer to the end than we are to the beginning, which I hate to say, but it's true. And now we're in the holidays. We're in the holiday season, and obviously now all you're going to be hearing now is Christmas music and just any music affiliated with the holidays for the next several weeks. So, but we'll see what this game brings tonight. The Bears win. At least that gives them, something to be happy about. But the Vikings, listen, they win this game. You separate yourselves from Seattle, for the moment. And Seattle plays the Cowboys on Thursday, which, the way Geno Smith's been playing, especially after the, this past game against the 49ers and him being banged up a little bit, and the way the Cowboys, perform at home, it's not going to be. Right now, it doesn't look good. Does not look good for the Seahawks. So we'll see how it goes, like I always say. But that's pretty much it for the show today. Like I said, we ran through everything, but we'll get into a lot of teams individually throughout the week. We'll talk about who's the best team in the NFL right now. Teams that are on the outside looking in, do they got a shot? And of course, we got the NFC Championship game rematch coming up next weekend, which I am really excited for. I want to see how these teams really stack up against each other when everybody's healthy. So there is one way that I lean towards, and I'll get into that, of course, at some point during the week, but not right now. So, but yeah, I know it was it's kind of a little bit of a layoff. Had 4 days off in between the last show and today. But of course, happy to be back. Got shows every day this week until Friday. Then we got the doubleheader. Hopefully some baseball stuff starts ramping up, so we got stuff to talk about. Because again, we're in the off season. It's just kind of waiting for guys to sign. We've seen trades, and guys being, put on the free agent market, after not, accepting qualifying offers and, being non-tendered, things like that. But nothing really major has happened. No major signings yet, but hopefully that happens at some point. So with that is all the time that we have for today. I thank you guys for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time, so make sure to tune in. So until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.